Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today I want to talk to you about 5 different types of lumber and how they're used in deck construction. Alright, so a lot of you follow along and you watch our builds and you see different sizes and types of materials that we use. So if you get something out of this video today or you like what you see, don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit our bell icon if you want to be notified when we're putting out new content, which is usually 3 days a week. Alright, so probably the most common board that we use and the most is called a 2x8. Basically, a 2x8 is a board that's been milled from a 2x8 rough standard down to 1.5 inches by 7.5. Sometimes the boards are 7 1/4, sometimes they're 7 3/4. It kind of depends on the mill, and they can vary throughout a unit. Most of these are pressure treated, and that's mostly what I'm talking about today is going to be incised pressure treated hemlock. All the boards I'm going to show you today are pressure treated incised hemlock boards that are made locally, and they're available in our local market. So what you see here, this deck is framed in all 2x8 joists. So this ledger or this outside rim joist is a 2x8. This joist, all these joists are 2x8. That's just one size of a material that we use, and it's structural, so we have to span it within a certain distance to make it that way. So if we overspan our joist, it'll be too flexible and it won't pass code. This deck's being permitted, so we had to make sure that we have beam support in the proper locations for it. And we're talking about beams, that's another type of material that we use right here. It's called a 4x8. A 4x8, again, when they bring it from the mill, it's a true 4" by 8", and then they plane it down to 3.5 inches wide by 7.5 inches tall, like this, okay? Then it gets incised, and then it gets pressure treated. So we have 2x8 here, we have 4x8 here, and 4x8 is primarily used for beams. We use 4x8 beams quite a bit because it's a good combination of thickness when you have a low deck, and if you have at least 16 inches of space, you can squeeze a 4x8 and a 2x8 into that space, and you can run your joists over the top of your beams just like this, okay? And so that's basically one combination of framing that we use quite often is I call it 8-inch construction. So it's a 2x8, 4x8 combination. All right, so what you see between these 2x8s, we have some pressure blocking, and those are all done out of 2x6. 2x6 is just a smaller size of material that we use quite often. The reason I use 2x6, I use it a lot for pressure blocking. The reason I like to use 2x6 for pressure blocking is because it sits below the level of a 2x8. Okay, by a couple inches, so we don't have any problems. If we try to use all 2x8 blocking, we'd have to rip every single one of them down to make sure they're below the height of the joist, or it gives us problems when we start to lay the deck boards down, and we don't want to have to fiddle around with all that stuff when we're in a groove and we're just moving along and we're installing decking. So 2x6 can also be used as joists, but you can't span it very far. I don't like using 2x6 for joists because it adds a lot of bounce into the deck. So I primarily use 2x6 for blocking and flat blocking, which we'll get into in a little bit. Another common use lumber that we use is called a 4x6. Now a 4x6 is 3.5 by 5.5. We use it for posts, like in this portion of the deck right here. So over here, a 4x6, I like using 4x6s better than 4x4 because they have a little bit more stoutness to them. They don't crack as much. They're a solid member. So we'll use them for posts, and we also use them for beams. And one other thing we use them for is like when we're hanging our skirting down and we're connecting things to other things. So let's go take a look at an example of that. All right, so here's another example of a 4x6 that we've used as a vertical element that we're going to use for skirting support for the deck. We'll bring another board around the edge of this, and we'll attach to this, and it also has a little bit of structural value because it's sitting on top of this retaining wall and kind of holding up the end of the deck. So we used 4x6 for posts and for beams and for vertical applications. And then another piece of lumber that we use quite often, and is probably one of the more common ones, is called a 4x4. This is a 4x4. It's 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches square. has a little bit less structural value than a 4x6 does, but can be used in certain instances where we just need like a vertical element like this on some skirting, or we use it quite often to fur things out if we need to, or for vertical posts. There's a lot of people that use them vertically for decks as well. We prefer to use 4x6, but you know, you can always check with a structural engineer if you're not sure which size member to use on any particular part of a build. Most of our decks are engineered, and so we have the okay from our engineer to use the sizes of timber that we have included in our permit application. All right guys, thanks for watching today's video. I hope a lot of you that don't know much about lumber or don't use lumber very often got something out of this video, and if you did, please click that subscribe button. Don't forget to share our videos with your friends and family and anybody that you know that might benefit from them. Don't forget to like our videos, and please click that subscribe button. It means so much to us. Thanks for watching guys. Have a great day.